Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. Well, I couldn't be happier with the way that the deck turned out, but we definitely didn't get all of our chores finished the other night. I really did want to get to those containers that are back here on my deck. Tomorrow we're supposed to be in the 60s as the high temperatures, and actually the 10-day forecast looks like it's going to be in the 60s and 70s, so I can't wait to start getting on things like transplanting and dividing. But before I can do any of that, I need to take care of some of these pots. So let's get at it. All right, well, here we are on the back deck and I am getting set up. I just went to the store and I bought some potting mix because I knew I would need that. And I was hoping to find something there that I wanted to put in these containers because I didn't really have a plan, and I sure did. Look at these beautiful grasses, you guys. I got 2 of them. These have these beautiful spikes of blooms. Really, these are seed heads, and they have seeds all over them right now. I actually have one of these in the ground. They don't overwinter real well for me here because I think my soil is a little bit too wet for them, but this one is called Prairie Winds Desert Plains. I got them for $17.98. These are awesome for full sun, and the height and width on these are 36 inches apart and 48 inches tall. So I would say right now they are definitely not 48 inches tall. They're probably just, maybe 24 inches tall, which is the perfect height for these containers over here. I've got a couple of square containers I was growing snapdragons in, and they, look really, really worse for the wear now. So I have broken those off, but I need to get some of the stones out of the planters. I need to take this basil out. Well, yeah, that basil, I might just plant it out into the garden because I still feel like I can get some more life out of that anyways. Or maybe I'll be able to tuck the grass in with the basil. Who knows? Probably not though. All right, well, let's get started. I got these square planters last year and I got them at Lowe's. They actually had some boxwoods in them and a couple of other plants. They actually were the variegated boxwoods that I have since planted out into my front sun garden, and I love them out there, so it was a really good find. And in addition to that, then these pots are made of like a plastic that is very good in all weather, so I can leave these out over the winter, and that is super nice. And they didn't crack at all this last winter, so that is an additional benefit. Oh my goodness, you guys, if you grow basil, this stuff smells so good. All I'm doing is just kind of brushing up against it while I'm pulling these stones out, and it smells so amazing. So these are just some river rocks that I am pulling out. I don't know what they're from. They're left over from some project, or maybe I brought them back from, I don't know, the lake shore or something, by Lake Superior or something. Not even really sure. All right, well, I'm just gonna take my Hori Hori knife. This is a super awesome tool with a really sharp side on it, just like a regular, maybe like a kitchen knife, only much more heavy duty. And I'm gonna kind of cut around this basil. And then I'm gonna try to pull out the snapdragon parts of this. And like I said, it did just rain, so ooh, look how easy that came out. I think there's a lot more roots that are in this though. Maybe I need to cut it up into even smaller pieces. There we go, that's better. So I'm gonna haul out these big chunks because I don't want these roots to still be in here, because they will be preventing me from being able to really access the nutrients that are in the potting soil. You can see there's just so much root that is, up in these pots. And that's why it's important to replace it at the end of the season, because as your plants grow on, the roots get bigger and bigger. All right, I think I've got this basil cut out now, so we'll pull that out and set it aside if we can. I'm really hoping to get it out in a nice piece. I think it has rooted in very well. All right, here we go. There we are. So yeah, so that looks like a nice one. Let's get the other one out. Then we'll plant these in the ground before we fill these planters back up. I want to put them in the potager garden. My family really enjoys caprese salads. If you're not familiar with a caprese salad, basically they're like mozzarella balls with tomatoes cut up and then some balsamic vinaigrette and some olive oil and basil. And it is so delicious, you guys. Highly recommend it. All right, I'm just gonna dump this out now into this bin. Yeah, that was super full of roots. So hopefully the bag of potting mix that I got today is big enough. I always wonder that. I might put just a little bit of this used potting mix back into the bottom, maybe the bottom 2 inches. Because I will say that I don't think that these grasses are going to grow enough to really fill this whole container up with their roots during this fall. Yeah, I'm just going to take some of this soil from this container that really doesn't have a lot of roots in it for whatever reason. This one is in more shade than the other one. Put some of that down in the bottom. Now let's see if we can get this basil out. I think this basil is called forever basil, something like that. Anyways, it's a variegated basil, which is really interesting just to begin with. But then on top of that, it actually doesn't set flower, which means you can just keep harvesting it and harvesting it until the frost comes, which is super nice. All right, let's put these in the ground in the potager. You can see I have some really nice green basil right here. So we're gonna try to get the variegated basil in the same garden bed. And this is really an herb garden bed. I also have some parsley in here that I'm waiting for it to kind of set its seed. Because I like it to reseed in place every year. Free plants. All right, there's one. Let's see if we can get the other one in as well. This cloche is really just covering up some heads on some carrots, which I don't think are going to get big enough by this fall. So we're just gonna dig a nice big hole right here. It's nice that it rained. Sometimes this garden soil can be so hard. I try to continue to improve it every year and add a little bit of organic matter, whether it's leaves or mulch or compost or manure, just a couple inches on top every fall. But it always takes a while for garden soil to change. Sometimes a few seasons. It's definitely improved a lot since I started working with it, because this has just been, you know, that kind of soil that is originally excavated from homes around the foundations, and it's just hard clay. Okay, well, I think that is a beautiful addition to the garden, and I will come back and water those later. For now, we're going to head back up to the deck and get these two potted up. Do you guys ever feel like when you're in the garden that there's always something that you've got to get done before you can get to the actual task at hand? Sometimes that's the way it feels like to me. Like, I wanted to just plant up these pots, but in order to do that, first you got to get rid of some stuff. And then when I'm done, there's always a big pile of things to clean up as well. I always have fun doing it, but I always forget about how many different steps sometimes you have to take to do things. All right, again, I'm just going to transfer a little bit more of this potting mix over into the bottom of this pot, just a couple inches. Actually, I'm going to do some more, and then I got to take the bottom part of this out, and then I'm going to have to transfer it back into this if it makes any sense. There we go. All right, now I've got all of the big roots out, and I can transfer a little bit back over into this one as well. Well, let's see what the roots on these look like. These look like the perfect specimens. There's quite a few different kinds to choose from this year. That made me really happy. I think these, oh yeah, this is going to be just the right height. I was hoping they would come up right around to the top of the edge of these benches here. This soil that I got from the Home Depot is so moist. And after I put a little bit in, I'm going to pull this back out because it is a little bit deep. You definitely do not want to plant your grasses too deep, even if they are in pots and not in the ground, because they do like to have really good drainage, which is why they don't always do that great for me in the ground here. Now I thought about buying some additional plants to kind of tuck in around this grass, but then I decided not to. I might get some pansies later on in the fall or something as the weather cools down, but I didn't want to buy any mums because I already have lots of mums in the garden, and I have plenty of them in, containers as well. So that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I figure we'll just go with a really nice simple container, and sometimes those are the ones that seem to make me the happiest because they feel so clean and you can just really see the plant and let it shine. Especially if you find a good combination of planter and plant. And what I mean by that is, like, to me, these kind of planters go really well with this grass. There's something about the square of them, the white with the kind of markings on the outside. It's going to make it kind of fuss-free to just have this really simple planter here. What do you guys think? Do you guys prefer to have planters with lots of different plants in them? Or do you prefer a more simple planting style? Keeping things simple with one or two plants. There's no wrong answer here. Everybody just has individual preferences about what they like in their garden. And it's good to figure that out over time. Sometimes you don't even know when you begin, and it's kind of by trial and error. You try one thing and you realize you don't really like it until you try the other. All right, I think I can add a little bit more potting mix to the other planter here. And what I'm also going to do is take the stones and put them back on these planters. And if you're wondering why I have stones in these planters, it's because of like the squirrels and chipmunks and things. They absolutely love to come in and dig things up. I don't put these stones in here super close to one another, just enough to make it difficult for the animals to kind of get their claws in between them. And they're so easy to remove. It's not like fine gravel or something like that. You know me, I'm all about finding simple, easy to use solutions for around the garden. Things that make sense for busy people, because that's what I am most of the time, trying to figure out how to get it all done. Okay, now that we have those in place, I'm going to come through and use my blower to get rid of some of this mess. Well, that's quite a bit better, although it is not perfect, because I did walk on some of this soil, which kind of smushed it down when it was wet. So now I'm just going to come through with my pot toes, and these help to protect the deck. So these are just a little plastic riser that you can put under your plant pots that help lift them off the ground. It allows for better drainage. And in addition to that, it also just ensures that whatever surface they're on is protected. So I like to use these with pretty much all my pots that are on the deck. I do keep a link to these in the description because I use these everywhere in my garden for most of my pots. And I need to find another one. There we go. So if you are interested in them, there is a link in the description to the video that you can purchase them off Amazon. And they're pretty cheap. They're only like $12.99 or something like that. So, wow, these look great. And it might rain a little bit more, so I think that'll do a little bit more in terms of kind of tidying up. But let me get a look at what it looks like now. Oh yes, I love this. Now, I might have to move these out to the side a little bit more on either side just to give a little bit more room to walk through, push them a little bit closer to the benches. But that's beautiful. It's kind of that rustic farmhouse, country French vibe a little bit. I think they look really pretty. Let's take a look from the other side as well. Oh yeah, that's nice. Look at that. Beautiful. And I love, love, love the way that you can kind of see through those seed heads. They just glow usually in the sunlight, and we're looking at it right now from the west. So when you're sitting on the deck, I just know we're going to get that sunset glow coming through these beautiful grasses, and they'll wave in the wind. The groundhog, most importantly, should not want to eat these, and neither should the rabbits or any of the other little things that are running around the garden these days. And I think it just looks really lovely, doesn't it? Well, thanks so much for gardening with me today. It is like really humid out still, so I can't wait for that cool weather to come on through. We're gonna definitely enjoy it a lot more. I hope you enjoyed this planting video and it inspired you to get outside and maybe try some new pots or some new plants in your garden, because they look beautiful and it's a perfect time of year to swap some things out. All right, we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.